Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and momentarily we are going to be joined by the Action for Assange crew to discuss the latest going on with Julian Assange, but I thought that I would kind of preview what I'd like to talk about and what's been going on in the different court cases outside of extraditing him illegally into the United States for a show trial that would absolutely and completely eviscerate any type of global free speech whatsoever, deeming him a cyber terrorist for being a public disclosure organization. And even now, that isn't the charge, right? They're trying to get him as a quote unquote cyber terrorist because they say he helped Manning get the passwords that would then hack into the system and get the information that exposed massive war crimes in the United States, including killing journalists on video, correct, and of course, the massive abuses going on at sites like Abu Ghraib. So thumbs this video up, subscribe, share. I got great news for everybody. Check it out. GoFundMe is back up. And I got pretty much what felt like a form email, which was basically almost an apology and said something had messed up. I went over some of the weird little anomalies, but at no point did they say that I was under review for being harmful content or some kind of a scam. So hopefully this is going to be the last time I have a problem with GoFundMe. And the thing that I do like about GoFundMe is the fact that it is extremely transparent. You guys can see how much I make. It's not like I'm pulling in millions of dollars. And I do think $5,000 is, for what I do. I mean, I've been on air now over 4 hours today. I mean, this is video number 5, I believe, because I have the Rockfin exclusive. And, I'm trying to provide people with insight, information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media, whether it's Fox News or it's MSNBC or it's CBS or it's really any of these mainline or even alternative outlets, even like RT. You're probably not going to see even a lot of my material there. So if you can, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. Big donors, I appreciate it. I'm a documentary filmmaker. You can check out all the documentary films after this segment, right? And we did a watch along today with Invisible Empire all the way through, especially because of what's going on. You can also support myself, the Action for Assange crew, Steve from Slow News Day, who's also going to be on this program, over at Rockfin. And remember, you can sign up for free, create a free account, and you can get Is Today the Day for Zombie Joe. It turned out to be the day, and he did end up picking Kamala Harris. And lo and behold, the entire video is pretty much about Joey B turning into Zombie Joe, and now Kamala Vampirus. So thumbs them up, subscribe, share. Remember to check out the Action for Assange crew. Follow them on Twitter, and let's get to it. So in the case with Seth Rich, and a lawsuit involving Fox News, a judge seems to actually be facilitating, these different 20 questions in regards to Wikileaks, Russiagate, and of course Seth Rich's involvement. Now, we read them on air. Here they are right here behind me. But the mainstream media in large part has not touched this information, has not even close to looked at it, revealed it. They don't want people to know about it, but it is now in the public domain. We'll be going over this later with the Action for Assange crew. And then something else I think is important is that Matt Couch, who is all over this, love him, hate him, pro-Trump, not pro-Trump, whatever, that's not what this is about to me. He's suing NPR, Michael Isikoff, and others for this Yahoo podcast that basically he's saying is defaming him. And in this issue, I think Couch has been pretty damn good. So now let me go over here because we do it live. And I'm still waiting for my Zoom link to come into the Action for Assange crew. And here's the thing, guys. I need you to support these guys. They're doing on-the-ground activism. You know, they're going to be out again at the hearings overseas. They're going to be in D.C. for sure in September. I don't know whether I'm going to make it to D.C. in September. I hope I'm going to be able to make it. But at the same time, there is a good chance that I may not. What's going on here? Do I not have... maybe they have sent it to me and I can't see it. Yes. Boom. There's the meeting. So they have sent it to me. We're going to hop in here, guys. And it appears they're almost ready, but not on the air yet.
No, we'll be on the air in about 10 seconds.
All right, just let you know you're on the air over here.
Awesome.
Okay.
Tell me when we're ready. How you doing, Jason?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Good. The next time you're in Ohio, I got to show you the new raccoon setup. It's pretty sweet.
That's hilarious.
Oh, you got a new raccoon setup?
Channel, by the way.
Oh, that's okay.
We're so professional.
Scripted, y'all.
Cool.
All right, let's count you in there. 5, 4, 3. You live.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 58th week of the Free Assange Online Vigil. My name is Andrew Smith, and I'm joined tonight with co-hosts Misty and Steve. I can't actually pull the numbers up because my computer's freaking out, so I'm going to have someone else do that. But we are also joined, and we will pull him in just a second, special guest Jason Burmis. But if one of you could grab the
I can do numbers. Okay, so we have 3,535 days of illegal and arbitrary detention for Julian Assange. We have 488 days since the Wikileaks publisher was trafficked from the Ecuadorian embassy after being sold to the UK for a 4.2 billion IMF loan. We have 26 days until the second phase of Julian's show trial and rendition hearing. So get to DC. We have 1,166 days of incarceration for Reality Winner. And a little bit of good news, our always little shining ray of hope. We have 150 days of freedom for Chelsea Manning. So yeah, those are the numbers for today.
And just so everyone knows, we still have the same call to action out. I am asking that everybody reach out to their city council people. It's something this is the third week and it'll be the final week that we put this out there. But Melbourne and other groups in Australia had a lot of success in getting city councils to speak up on behalf of Julian. So I'll be putting that link in the chat and I'll hop over onto Jason's stream and put it into his chat for him as well. But we're just asking people to reach out to your local city council people while you're watching the vigil tonight and share with them information about Julian. And on our website, we actually have a specific document that you can download and send to your city council people, which was the motion that was passed by the Melbourne City Council, Melbourne, over in Australia, which is Julian's home city. So if you could take a look at that, and I will be dropping the link into the chats now for everybody. But one more side note, Chelsea Manning does have a Twitch stream. And that's something that we're encouraging everybody to go over there and show her some love. She does stream Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I believe, usually later in the evening, but her schedule is up on her Twitch. So if you could just pop over there and say thank you for being a war hero for literally the cause of knowing what the hell our government's doing. But with that, I want to say hi to a very special guest of ours, Jason Burmis. How are you today, my friend?
I am very good, and how are you?
We're doing pretty wonderful. So we have some interesting stuff we wanted to talk with you about and get your opinion, but I want to let someone else kind of jump in first before I go off into an article.
So I know that you did a short live stream about this a few days ago when the story broke, and we're going to get to it. It's about the lawsuit that Fox News filed where they have called for the testimony of Julian Assange. But before we do that, I think it would be fun really quickly, because this just happened like a couple hours ago, where the Delaware daughter sniffer, Grandpa Grow-Between, Sleepy Joe Biden, decided that in the middle of a summer where tens of thousands, if not, put together, approaching 1 million people have been out in the streets to ostensibly protest against police brutality. Joe Biden decides that he's going to put a cop on his presidential ticket. I would like to get some thoughts from my friends here about this. I guess I don't know, mind-numbingly and dangerously stupid decision that the DNC has made. So you could jump in whenever.
I mean, let me just jump in quick on this. I don't think we can even call him Sleepy Joe at this point. He's progressed from like Joey B. I showed the clip of him at the CFR earlier today. Where he still had a little snap to his step, son of a bitch, they fired him. I didn't give him the $1 billion. He's gone from Joey B to Sleepy Joe. That's the guy you probably saw at the debates where he was confused about record players and life, and he's got hairy legs. And now we've progressed to Zombie Joe, where other people are deciding everything. They only bring him out about 3 or 4 days. He can no longer string a 90-second thought together without stopping, making a mistake, literally closing his eyes and shaking. So Zombie Joe doesn't have anything to do with this decision at all. He's there for window dressing. Now, Kamala Vampiris, that's another thing. This is a sociopathic fucking cunt, man. Like, this is the kind of... I've said this before, Willie Brown, I actually brought her up today on a Rockfin exclusive. But Willie Brown, who had her as his mistress, this is who he was cheating on his wife with, folks. Mr. Establishment Willie Brown, Mr. Bohemian Grove Willie Brown, Mr. San Francisco Willie Brown, Mr. I got a call on the morning of 9/11 not to fly Willie motherfucking Brown, okay? He said that she shouldn't take the VP because it wasn't powerful enough, and she should take the AG. So already there you could tell that the offers were on the table. However, I think she wants the moniker. I think she wants the notoriety. She knows if they are able to rig this, she's not the vice president. After all, 60% of Democrats are like begrudgingly admitting now that they don't think Joe Biden will serve 4 years as president if he's elected. 4 years? Motherfucker ain't serving 4 hours. That guy... No. So this is like, to me, the most outward selection of the diversity sociopath that they were able to just put out in the debates as a legitimate candidate. And it's another frightening step into 2020, Steve.
Well, the thing to keep in
really
mind, too, is Biden was also floating the name Gretchen Whitmer to have as his running mate. And for people who don't know, Gretchen Whitmer's daddy is a CEO for Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Like, literally, her father is on the board of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And she is also a person that banned seeds and literally everything except processed food products during the initial stages of the COVID-19 lockdown, to the point that an armed resistance stormed the Michigan State Capitol building to try to reclaim at least some personal independence and self-function. So I think it's... I don't know, like, as far as people that he could choose, why not pick someone that supports slavery like Kamala Harris? Like, this is the guy that wrote the crime bill that made crack multiple times more illegal than cocaine, even though ounce for ounce it contains less of the actual substance that gets you high.
My favorite thing about Kamala Harris, and this is I've lived in California now for almost 20 years, but when she ran for attorney general, her opponent was this guy who was basically a poster child for the Lebensborn, just blonde-haired, blue-eyed, like proud, authoritarian, borderline Nazi, and she won her race by less than 1% of a point, as I guess she was trying to bill herself as a progressive district attorney or something like that, but she barely beat out a Nazi, and then had like the unmitigated gall to walk around in her miserably failing presidential candidate, trying to tout her record to the point to where Tulsi Gabbard opened her mouth for about 2.5 minutes and just completely destroyed that woman's chances of getting anywhere near the Oval as an elected official. Now, she could do it as Joe Biden's VP, because Jason, I think you're right. Harris is there because it would be a little bit too obvious if he would have selected Hillary Clinton. So they selected, slightly more tan Hillary Clinton with a slightly less, not much, but slightly less visceral emotional recoil reaction from the general public every time they see her, she opens her mouth. But this is Hillary Clinton and the Hillary Clinton faction of the Democratic Party saying, we're on the ticket, and old Joey B is gonna have a slip and a fall, or he's just gonna go to sleep on the night of the inauguration and not wake up, and then we'll have President Kamala Harris and whatever shit show she unleashes on the world if they manage to steal this election. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
Brother, listen, the way the hysteria is, I just want to put this out there. I can't put anything past these people. Number one, if you just have a few states out there that go to this mail-in voting system, we're not getting a result on November 4th no matter what. We're not getting one on the 5th. We're not getting one on the 15th. We might not get one December 1st because there's going to be so much contesting one way and the other. And when we talk about Kamala Harris, I want to remind everybody that I stand by my statements that I believe this is the type of woman that would sit there at a holiday dinner and cook with another woman and smile in her face while she is sleeping with her husband behind the scenes and then banging her son when he gets home from college on vacation. She is a fucking sociopath. You can see it in her actions. You can see it in her voice. You can see it in her face. She is a politician, a prosecutor that put people in jail for longer than their sentences. Nothing has to make sense, right? Like the right will run with that cop theme and the left will just make, like that doesn't exist or it's some kind of smear. It's just like Trump again signs an executive order, which is Bernie Sanders on crack, against Big Pharma, and Bernie Sanders himself and the rest of the left have remained completely silent, man. We're in bizarro world. We're here.
Well, let's talk about, this is actually a giant fuck you to Bernie Sanders voters, to progressives, which I am not either of those things. But at some point, they have to recognize how ridiculous this is. I mean, this is a double... It's insane how obviously this is a giant fuck you to the entire progressive movement. I mean, Kamala Harris, like you guys said earlier, in the midst of Black Lives Matter protests across the country and overwhelming calls to defund the police, they chose the cop. Come on.
Well, it'll prevent right-wing attacks because then they can't be anti-police if Kamala Harris is a cop.
And Joe Biden wrote the fucking crime bill. Like the problems that people have with the police right now, with our prison system, with the criminal justice in general. Like you can point to a couple specific individuals and say, were it not for these people and their efforts, it would not be this fucked up. Joe Biden is that guy. Kamala Harris is the one who said, as Misty just mentioned, no, you don't get to get out of jail yet, even though your sentence is up, because we need you for cheap labor and we need you to go fight forest fires in California.
That's called slavery. I don't know if people are aware, but forced labor is called slavery. It's actually, you can look it up. It's called the 13th Amendment. There's a little caveat in there that says hey, we can't have slaves unless you're in prison.
I mean, on the Democratic ticket, we have a segregationist and a cop who supports slavery. we live in a fucking cartoon, right, Steve? I mean, that's basically what it is. This is the craziest timeline imaginable.
It's the stupidest timeline imaginable. I don't know if it's the craziest. Like, I can think of some crazier shit that could happen, but this is by far the stupidest timeline. And we all know why. It's because that marmot got stuck in the Large Hadron Collider in 2016, forcing a hard reset about 3 months before the presidential election. And ever since then, man, it's just been fucking nuts.
I still think there's a possibility that David Bowie was the glue holding everything together, and once he died, like, the world collapsed. Like, that's my theory. That's the one I'm working with.
Well,
Jason, any David Bowie related conspiracy theories before we get to this article?
I have absolutely zero David Bowie related conspiracy theories, other than the non-conspiracy that he and Mick Jagger did have a sexual relationship. That seems to be 100% verified. And that video that they did together is not only hilarious for every reason, but awesome that the Family Guy played it start to finish in one of their episodes and not even an excerpt. That's all I got for you on that, Steve.
So let's go ahead and jump into this lawsuit that was filed. Let me pull up the actually, before I go to the documents, I'll pull up the article real quick to kind of set the scene. Let me put it on the share here real quick. And we have an injured Sleepy Josh tonight, so we are teching on our own, and I hope that Josh heals up here very soon. Not only because it sucks to be in pain, but I have a show coming up on Sunday. So a U.S. federal judge has asked the U.K. to assist in facilitating the testimony of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in a civil suit against Fox News brought by the parents of slain DNC staffer Seth Rich. Am I reading the right fucking article here? Yeah, I am. Yeah, U.S. Magistrate Sarah Netburn said in a filing on Wednesday that Assange's evidence cannot be secured except by the intervention of English courts, and that such intervention would serve to further international interests of justice and judicial cooperation. This is fascinating. And like I said, Jason, I know that you have done a video on this. So if you want to set it up just a little bit while I pull up these documents,
sure,
that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So the document's actually behind me. And this isn't I don't believe this is a new lawsuit. This is an extension of the lawsuit out there by Fox News defending that their stories about Seth Rich and Assange were actually true. And in these 20 questions that they are basically trying to use a precedent set by The Hague to get a video conference with Julian Assange. After all, they facilitated a ton of these video conferences overseas, especially during COVID 1984. You have 20 questions that not only ask the questions about Assange, but WikiLeaks, their relationship to Rich, but whether or not Russia itself, the GRU, or anybody affiliated with them, the FSB, the SVR, the FSPSI, had any role in the 2016 DNC emails released. Now, obviously, we know that Assange may not answer certain questions, but I think he would certainly answer number 20. And we all know how he would answer it. He would answer it the same way he's always answered that question, and that is that Russia did not facilitate those emails. So this is a 60-page document, but it contains the original lawsuit. There's only about, I think, 12 to 14 new relevant pages. But yeah, I thought this was extra encouraging. And then on top of that, before you guys came in, I was prepping the audience for this. There's another lawsuit now going on where Matt Couch is suing NPR, Michael Isikoff, and others that were involved in a Yahoo podcast series that defamed him and basically says he's a liar and the whole Seth Rich story is not true. So we have more and more lawsuits out there of people defending their work with the Seth Rich case, with the fact these emails did not originate from Russia. And I think this is extremely important because we may be able to put things on the record in civil court first rather than some kind of kangaroo federal court. Do I think it's going to work? I'm never hopeful. You know, every once in a while, you know, you get a Chelsea Manning commuted sentence. Every once in a while, you get a Harvey Weinstein prison sentence. So, you know, am I hopeful? No, but I do see these as avenues of people fighting back, and hopefully something will slip through the cracks.
You know, so every time that Ray McGovern's on, we have an opportunity to talk to him a little bit because he's been subpoenaed in one of these lawsuits, and there are multiple ones out as far as I remember. My hope ultimately is that no matter how long of a process it takes, regardless of who wins the lawsuit, we will actually be able to get to look at court transcripts and 100% know, finally, yes, Seth Rich was the person who leaked these to the DNC, or no, he wasn't, but we may be able to figure out who did. At some point, it's there. I wish that the people who murdered this man were brought to justice. That's what I wish. And there's so many suspicious circumstances surrounding him, and there's so many, like, why would the mayor of DC need to be at the hospital? Why would Donna Brazil need to be at the hospital? Like, this is just, it's maddening. And for it to be dismissed as some sort of like right-wing conspiracy theory shows the level of both dedication and desperation on behalf of the liberal intelligence class, pundit class, and political class.
What I find the most disturbing is that you're not even allowed to talk about it. Like, if you even well, I mean, I do, but if you talk about it, you're labeled a kook and a crazy conspiracy theorist. And, you know, it's ridiculous. It's an unsolved murder of a DNC employee around an election time when WikiLeaks just happened to produce a bunch of Democratic Party crap. So the fact that it's like a taboo subject that you can't talk about or you shouldn't talk about is completely ridiculous. And it really just speaks to how prevalent and how effective the propaganda campaign and then the smear campaign to maintain the propaganda campaign really is. And it sucks because, you know, like Steve said, I just want some justice for this kid. I mean, it would just be nice for, you know, the system to work for the people for once and for him to get some justice for what happened to him.
Well, the problems, we're stuck in a point in history of collective lying to ourselves. Like, as a society, we have this massive issue with literally lying to ourselves and our neighbors and our friends and family about what the hell's going on. And Russiagate is a perfect example because of how easily it had holes shot in it. But another example of this is something that Jason has exposed so beautifully his entire life. It's the way that 9/11 has been recorded through history, even though most people know the textbook definitions of it are bullshit. The same thing can be said for the way society is treating coronavirus, and even the way society treats Julian. By the whole he hurt people or he's a rapist thing, when all it takes is a little cognitive effort and that just falls away.
I absolutely agree with you, brother. And even today, you know, I was watching Trump's clip from yesterday where he was talking about Brennan, Clapper, all these people that were involved in spying on his campaign. And he's like, you know, they've never been caught before doing something like this. And then today I did a watch along with my film Invisible Empire and New World Order Defined. And Peter Dale Scott is sitting there talking about you know, basically Iran-Contra and the surprise, the October surprise, where all of a sudden they had these hostages. And on the day they inaugurated Reagan, they let him go. And that absolutely there were backdoor deals with the establishment backing George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, Rockefeller, Brzezinski at the time. They just never got caught in that respect, you know? But right now, where the information is definitely in your face, love Trump or hate him, there are so many people still in denial that Obamagate exists, and they did try to set this guy up, and that Russiagate doesn't have any merit, Andrew.
And the other big thing, too, about the whole Russiagate facade is the fact that it's still being pushed. Like, It's been debunked from every which direction. Reality Winner released documents that showed that the U.S. intelligence agency honestly had no idea what the hell was even going on in our country at this time, probably because the majority of it was dedicated to infiltrating and spying on Donald Trump's campaign. But the fact that they can still run a headline and say Russia did it and be taken as serious, because we have content creators like you, Jason, that get removed from YouTube essentially because you're considered harmful or dangerous content, when there's people that literally go out and lie us into wars on a regular basis that get the ad revenue, the promotional spots, and the placements by YouTube.
Well, you know what? Even this week, Ford Fisher, I know Ford. I actually saw him in D.C. when I was with you guys in that initial Assange action. I want to remind people, September is just around the corner. Action for Assange absolutely needs your help. Go to actionforassange.com to financially support him and get him out there. But Ford Fisher, let me see if I can actually bring it up right here. We'll scroll down a while. He basically put up a video that was a press conference of an anti-fascist and his lawyer right here, okay? And it's an 11-minute clip, and it says that a human reviewer found it to be hateful content and violent after a manual review. Here's the thing. The same exact footage licensed by Ford Fisher to Now This is fully monetized. So it shows you, I mean, the same exact clip, the same exact content by an authoritative source, you're allowed to monetize it. But if you're Ford Fisher, who certainly isn't Luke Radowski or Jason Burmis or, Andrew Smith or Steve Poikonen, he's basically a guy that puts out 99% of just the same exact material. Again, frame for frame, word for word, the same content, demonetized for Ford, is monetized for Now This. And people think Now This is this hip alternative platform. Yeah, Now This, it's like the new Vice. Oh, so cool. And you never get an actual independent voice. You know what I mean? The actual raw footage. So that just shows you all the selective enforcement. Luckily, I know that my audience was aware of this, but my GoFundMes got frozen out of nowhere 2 days ago. And then today they said that it was some kind of a processing glitch. So apparently I wasn't really up for review. There was no talk of harmful content. And I supposedly have access. But when you see people like Dan Dix get purged from platforms like GoFundMe, that is also extremely worrisome. And we're in an age, Andrew, of more censorship than ever.
And then it comes down to Fox News having to get Julian pulled in on a lawsuit to actually be able to have this presented in a way that people will actually listen, which is fucking crazy to me that it's Fox News that is doing the heavy lifting on this, while at the same time had removed the article that they're being sued over, and didn't even have the balls to stand by a well-vetted article in regards to Seth Rich, but then still continue this lawsuit even though they don't stand by the information that they have.
Their own work.
Right.
We're not going to stand by our own work, but it seems like we might be able to do a little grandstanding here. So let's go ahead and file this motion, and let's try and get this testimony. What I'm most interested in, I guess, and it's kind of a sidebar, but I think it's worth discussing here for a couple of minutes while we still have Jason, is the testimony that Julian Assange has already given in the Spanish case against UC Global and their founder, David Morales, and whether or not that will actually be allowed to be introduced into the rendition here. Do you have an opinion on that, Jay?
That's a great question. Again, when you're kind of in this kangaroo court system, anything could be possible. And there are some people that are saying that now these, I think, 17 charges, and then there's an 18th one that's somewhat separate, may be dropped, and a whole new indictment may be brought forth. And since we're in, COVID 1984 crazy, anything could be possible, right? I don't really know if I have an answer for you, because right now you still have a situation where this guy has been drug out physically of an embassy, is being tortured in prison, is being strip searched, right? When he is in court, he's put in a Hannibal Lecter style plastic box to keep him away from his lawyers. It seems like they're going to do everything that they can to keep any kind of testimony that they don't get firsthand there, and they certainly don't want testimony in a civil case to be admissible or even to hit anywhere in the mainstream media, Steve. But again, sometimes we get pixies and fairy tales. Sometimes they go raid a New Hampshire hideout for one of the largest sex traffickers of the last several decades. You never know, right? And I guess I'm going to be watching and seeing. What's your opinion on whether or not we're even going to see these hearings coming up in September? You think that's actually going to happen?
I hope so, because we already booked the Airbnb. Well, I look, man, it would be foolish of both President Trump and the possibility of an incoming President Biden for them to postpone these hearings. The reason that I heard that they were thinking about not going forward with it is because they wanted to wait until after the election. Well, for Trump, it's not like Joe Biden is going to put Julian Assange on the table during a debate. Joe Biden isn't going to be like, oh, and hey, by the way, you're trying to seriously damage investigative journalism by the precedent you had set for extraditing Julian Assange and charging him under the Espionage Act and an additional cybercrime charge, which is 100% how you do journalism. That's not Joey B. Joe Biden's the guy who is called Julian Assange a high-tech terrorist. And then about 12 hours later, Mitch McConnell called Julian Assange a high-tech terrorist, because that was the talking point, and that talking point doesn't have a partisan political ideology. It has a sociopathic political ideology.
I think the only reason that they would even try to delay it at this point, I think it would obviously help Trump. I mean, if that's a sticky situation for him to have riding on him going into an election, either way it goes. But I think, honestly, that they're just trying to wear Julian down. I think that they're just trying to, and even after the hearings, even if there is a ruling, there's going to be appeals, and it's going to go on and on and on and on, and it's like a never-ending nightmare for Julian Assange. And I don't really, people get mad at me because I'm cynical and a pessimist, but I just don't see like it being a great outcome for anybody, really. I mean, if you just look at the history of the 10 years about that they have been actively pursuing this one man, multiple governments doing everything that they can to destroy him, it's not looking great. I mean, I don't say that to like dissuade people from standing up for him. I do it. Here I am. We should still fight, but it's bleak, and I think we need to be realistic about that. Well,
look at how they've tried to change the world since Julian was taken into prison, and it's because they feel like there's less chance of getting caught, I guess would be the way to word it, because WikiLeaks still is functioning. Christians still prevented another false flag attack in Syria before it happened. But it's not the same level of technical and capable knowledge and experience that Julian brought to the situation, as our first teach-in talks about how he had been running media operations disclosing sensitive information since his childhood in Australia, with his first attempt at getting information out to the general public, essentially. So it's the things that have been allowed to happen at an alarmingly fast rate since Julian was taken into prison is just mind-boggling. With everything about the police violence to COVID-19 to literally not even having the ability to have a public discourse about what this virus is that's shutting down our economy and all of these other things, without just people just throwing random numbers and random facts because we have no actual basis for truth in this situation.
Oh, I'm with you, Andrew. Andrew, why don't you tell people how they can support you guys? I know this trip is very, very quickly upcoming. How can people support you guys?
So we have a GoFundMe up. I'll drop the link into the chat. It's just actionforassange.com/donate 4. And we also just on our website over the weekend posted the schedule for DC, our full 3-week event list. It's going to be multiple trips to the British Embassy, the Ecuadorian Embassy. We're going to the State Department. We're going to the CIA. We're going to the Department of Justice. We're going as close to the White House as they'll allow us right now, which is Freedom Plaza and the National Mall. And a couple other places like media events, Google, Twitter, for example, are on that list of places that we're going to. So if you can, come to DC with us. We have 26 days, I believe is the number, until Julian's trial starts, which means we have about 22 days until we're going to actually be arriving in DC ourselves. So I just hope that everyone can make it out there with us, because it would be super exciting to see 10,000 people turn up into the streets with us.
Yeah, and
I just found real quick. I just found out yesterday. I just found this out. We're going to have a series of panel discussions throughout this. Confirmed for one of these panel discussions is the one and only Daniel Ellsberg.
Oh, that's awesome. That's excellent.
Yeah.
That is very, very cool. Guys, I'm going to do my best to be out there. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to hit the road back again to go find a place to live and rent it out in the Iowa area this weekend, but it may be a little later. So if I am on the road, Andrew, and I am cutting through Ohio, I'll definitely get at you guys. I appreciate everything you do. Keep it up, Action for Assange.
Thank you very much for joining us, Jason. We really appreciate it.
Love you guys. So there they were, Action for Assange, guys. Again, that's what a actual organization that is trying to do the right thing and getting out there and championing free speech and trying to protect those that would help whistleblowers put out the documentation that exposes the predator class. So please consider donating to them. Again, GoFundMe has put my my stuff off of review. They didn't say that I was harmful content. They said it was some kind of a processing error, but that's a good sign. So remember, all my documentary films are free. They're in the playlist section. Thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. You can check myself, Action for Assange, and Steve from Slow News Day over at Rockfin as well. And check me out over here. Again, we're on YouTube for now, and we're going to continue to use this platform while we can, because it's not about left or right. It's about right and wrong. Love you guys.